Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode we're going to start all of the cleaning. Last episode I did a bunch of transmission work and I got everything nice and organized for getting started on all the cleaning stuff. But this episode will actually be cleaning. I'll start one part at a time, go through, inspect it, make sure everything's in spec. Get it all cleaned and polished up, starting with the front housing here. Looks pretty good. I'll have to double check with the manual, but I'm pretty sure as long as you can't feel any grooves with your fingernail, then it should be good, which I can't really feel. I'll have to double check everything though, because you can see it's it looks like there's grooves. Can't really feel them though. Then for each of the irons, we want to get the old water seals out. Those are pretty baked in here onto the edges. I'll probably get those with the screwdriver. And then on this one specifically, we got a bunch of stuck-on gaskets here. Got some down here. This, I believe, holds the stationary gear on. I don't know if we have to take that out, but there's also this washer inside of there, so see what the manual has to say about that. But then after I get all that done, then just generally scrubbing on it, because there's just some grime and all that around there. Also, for each of these components, the coolant passages are nice and dirty. When I took this thing apart, I don't know if you could see it in the video, but it was just sludgy brown coolant that was just floating around in there, which is really fun, but it'd be nice to get all that done and taken care of. Also, I think in one of my previous videos I was showing off the ports here, but now you can actually see them on the inside. See, this just rotates, and that opens another exhaust port, so it's pretty much like VTEC, but on a rotary engine, so it's pretty neat. It was definitely time for these seals to be replaced. They just been snapping and stuff, and they really dusty in there, just very crusty, so it's good I'm replacing those, I guess. Another thing they say to do is with these housings here, take some PB Blaster and just wipe it on there, just leave a real thin layer of it, just to keep it from rusting, because PB Blaster, I'm pretty sure it's made to inhibit rust as well as remove it. So having a thin layer on there, I'm pretty sure just keeps it from rusting, because a video I watched said, a video from Rad Potential, great YouTube channel, you should check him out if you haven't. He said that if you just let this stuff sit overnight, then it will flash rust overnight, so don't want that to happen. So I picked up one of these guys, this dial indicator here. It's my first time using one of these, so it's pretty cool. According to the service manual, there is a few important measurements here. So it's a little confusing how they wrote it out here, but there's that main big circle around there, which is the oil seal wear, and then you have side seal wear that overlaps that, and there's specs for those. So looks like inside that oil seal, the wear has to be less than 0.01 millimeters, and then outside the oil seal wear, it has to be less than 0.1 millimeters. And then up here for the side seal wear, which is what I'm measuring here, it's covered up by the indicator there, but it's just kind of the a little hard to see on this side if it can focus, like that line right there. So that line right there has to be less than 0.1 millimeters for it to be within spec. So I got this set up. I have it zeroed right next to that lip. This is the, you can see that line just behind it. That's the the worst part of this whole housing here is that little line right there. That's the biggest bump. You can feel it with your fingers. So, and each one of these tick marks on this is 0.01 millimeters. So just sliding it over that, you can see it's a little difficult. It's not like perfectly precise with how this is set up, but you can see it jump when I push it over that lip there. So that's right before it. That's right after. So you can see it's just about a little more than 0.01 millimeters. So that's within spec. It's worse than the ones inside here. And, you know, this dial indicator I got, it's strange. It rotates around like this, but it rotates on a screw. So it's stupid. As you move it, it lowers it down, which is why it's like sweeping down when I do that. So it's not very good for measuring like the entire surface of the engine or the housing, but just between right here and right there, I figured it's not that big of a deal. And that, I mean, ignoring that and rounding up, it's still within spec for this. So that's pretty good. You can just barely feel that bump with your fingernail, so I guess that's not too bad. So I'm going to finish up cleaning this guy up. I still need to get these gaskets off. I got all the gaskets on the other side off. So that's all done. Then I'm going to start on all those, do the same procedure for these other housings. Just when I looked at them, though, I think this one was the worst. But I could be completely wrong. We'll have to see. So we'll take a look at all that. But this seems to be in spec. I know not the most precise, but still pretty good. And I would say these housings or these side irons are perfectly usable. All right, and I found a better solution for these coolant seals. You can see I'm actually starting to make progress here. Took an angle grinder to one of these screwdriver bits, if it'll focus here. It's annoying, 1 second. There we go. It's pretty dirty right now, but I filed it down so it fit in there. Then I sharpened it a little bit. Not perfect, but you can see like there's stuff in there, and it's actually getting it up. So that's good. I'll try not to scratch this up too much. There's some like pitting up here, which isn't, I mean, really good, but everyone on the forum says it's not that big of a deal and that it's kind of on all of them. So yeah, gonna go through, get the inside and outside one all cleaned out, polish it all up, and then I'll be done with this guy finally. All right, so got all these cleared out. I'll throw up a before picture that I took. There's still some like dust in there that keeps piling up, but pretty clean all the way around. And then I went ahead and cleaned up, you know, all the edges here and the main plate itself. So it's kind of what we're dealing with this one. Also got in all these coolant passages as deep as I could. I can't really get all the way up in there since it's pretty interesting. The whole back side of this plate is all just one big like coolant chamber. You can feel down in there, so that's pretty neat. It'll be hard to get down in there, but I'll try. I got some of these like wire brushes that bend, so I can feed those down in there and kind of scrape around. We'll see how that goes. But this one's pretty much done. On to the next ones. Alright, so now on to the first main housing. Looks pretty good. There appears to be some very slight chrome flaking on this edge here. Looks like, yeah, it's only really it's flaky just in this area there, but that looks like it's the only flaking on this one. Oh, now there's a little bit up here. Those have to be within 2 millimeters from the edge, so I'll measure that to make sure, because that's not something you really want,
So we'll measure that to make sure it's all within spec. Otherwise, the rest of this housing looks good. There's some discoloration, which isn't like something you can feel. But, you know, there's some discoloration just like on the iron there. So yeah, this one looks mostly good. Just have to measure this side wear along the edges here. There's some minor flaking. Looks like just on this side here. Which could be worse. Again, we'll have to make sure it's all within spec. But not too bad. Got this little measurement guy here. It's maybe, yeah, it's about 2 millimeters right there. And it does clear that. It's probably about 1.5 millimeters. So I'd say these are safe to run. And it's also down here on the exhaust side, which shouldn't affect compression too much. Of course, you know, it's not ideal, but I think it should be safe to run based off what I've heard. And that's less than that 2 millimeter mark just all the way around. It's also interesting, you can see over here, might be kind of hard to see, in the coolant passages, that's just a bunch of mud, pretty much. So it's going to be nice to have all this just completely cleaned out. And for the housings, I think it should be easier than the irons because I don't have to worry about the coolant seals, since those are not on the housings on the newer generation Mazdas. But, you know, I'll go through, get all this polished up, go through with like a wire brush inside each of these coolant passages, make sure the inside's all clean and wiped down, and then of course the outside is very dirty. So do that on this one real quick. Alright, so I think I got this front housing all finished here. Outside's nice and shiny. I found this engine protectant shine stuff by the same company that makes the degreaser I'm using. Might be pretty gimmicky, I don't know. Threw it on there. I made it look a little shinier, I guess. But, you know, I think it looks cool. But you can see the difference here. All the coolant seals, or coolant passages are blown out. The coolant seals before left this ugly mark around the edge because they're all corroded. Which is nice and fresh now. You can see just the difference between these two guys. So this one looks pretty nice. Now I'm just going to make this one look like that one. Got all of the housings clean and the irons clean. See, everything looks very shiny with those two guys there. Can't really... I was thinking about painting the irons black, like a glossy black. But honestly, more effort than I want to go to right now. More money than I want to spend. Wouldn't cost too much, but honestly, the glossy silver. It's, I mean, more of a satin, I guess, but satin silver with the matte black irons. I think that looks really good, and you know, it'll be barely noticeable anyways. But all these guys look good. Got all the surfaces themselves cleaned. Got all the coolant passage grooves cleaned out. I think for the coolant passages themselves, I got the like the O-ring grooves cleaned out. For the passages themselves, I might take a pressure washer and just blast some water through there, because I bet there's still some gunk and stuff sitting inside there. You know, it couldn't hurt just to hit them with the pressure washer, let them dry off, make sure nothing rusts after. So I'll probably do that before we get it put all together. But those are done for now. And now it's time to work on the rotors. And then everything will be clean and I can put everything back together. So we got one of the rotors done here. You can see there's quite the difference between these two guys here. That one's mostly clean enough, I'd say. Want to go through and clean all of the side seal grooves, make sure the corner seal grooves are all good, and the apex seals grooves are good too. I just used a side seal, ran it through the side seal grooves just to make sure to get all the carbon out. I did the same thing with one of the old apex seals. Kind of just went through there, just back and forth. Sprayed some PB Blaster in there to kind of just loosen things up, but should be pretty dang clean. It's a little oily, so it's not perfectly clean, but I'd say that's good enough. That's gonna go back in the engine and get all dirty anyways. You can only clean the sides so much since they're, that's where the explosions happen. But compared to this guy, very clean. So we'll make the other one look like that. Rotors are cleaned enough, I'd say. On both of these, went through, got everything cleaned out really as much as I could. Side seal grooves, corner seal grooves, got in there with the wire brush. Those are clean enough, I'd say. Apex seal grooves, went through those with an old apex seal. Oil ring grooves, I sprayed them all out with brake cleaner. It looks like, there's nothing really in there. I tried my best to get in there and scrub that out, which I think I did good enough. I think overall, these guys are, still a little greasy just because my hands were dirty from handling them. But, turned out pretty good. So, rotors are done. Went ahead and just wiped this E-shaft down. Doesn't really matter that much. And then I got all these cleaned. So everything is pretty much ready to go for rebuilding the engine. I still have to remove all the gaskets from some of the pieces here. Water pump, intake, gaskets, front cover. So I still need to do those, but I'll probably do those as I'm rebuilding everything onto the engine itself. So, next video is going to be getting this all together and everything with all the brand new parts and getting the actual engine itself assembled. Then I'll worry about all of the other parts that go on that and making sure those are all ready with the gaskets and all that. So that should do it for this video. Everything is clean, which is very exciting. It only took me 3 weeks to get everything all clean. But, it's worth it. Everything looks nice and shiny and new, and it's all going to go together perfectly. Hopefully. I guess we'll know in the next video. But you guys take care. I'll see you in the next one.